Well, here we are. Definitely not the same time, and as some of you may notice, definitely not the same place. Well, I've got to be fair. I don't know how you'd notice that, to be fair. Although, as pointed out by one of my esteemed colleagues, I'm not on site. I just like wearing high vis because safety matters, right? Safety matters, and high vis saves lives. How are we, gentlemen? Well, firstly, actually, before we get into the how are we's, a big thank you. Due to my disorganisation and my want to spend time with my children, not that they necessarily want to spend time with me, I appreciate your flexibility in having us come out and do our show a little bit later on, or a bit earlier on, I should say, really, because it's the day before. So thank you, firstly. Secondly, Des, how are you, mate? Have you recovered? Are you okay?
I'm good, and I've had a good last fortnight. I attended the NZISM safety workshop with Greg Smith, with you, Brent, and
Yes,
had a blast.
that was us.
Fantastic take. And I've also been sinking my teeth into the Health and Safety Governance Good Practice Guide recently published by the Institute of Directors in New Zealand. And been picking that to pieces. That's been good fun.
But I've got to be fair. You wonder why people say that health and safety people have no life. I mean, listen to you. The highlight of your week, attending a safety conference and reading some gobbledygook on how to be better at safety, right? I mean, really? Come
Great,
on.
isn't it?
Come on.
Fantastic. Yep.
I've got to be fair, though.
Absolutely buzzing.
Uh, I, I I thought lawyers, I've got to be fair, were slimy creatures that didn't deserve much time on this earth, and they're only out for themselves. But I tell you what, that guy Greg, he really can't be a lawyer because I had a great time there. Des. I mean, it might have been some of the company that I sat next to, but yeah, really good day, I thought.
Very good day. Very good.
Andy, mate, do you want me to get the violin out now for some sob story about how much you've been working or what? How you been, bud?
I've been unwell.
Oh, this is awkward. Sorry.
I've lost quite a bit of weight. Thanks for noticing.
You do look a bit gaunt, actually, in the jawline.
Slim was what I was hoping for, but gaunt will do.
Well, are you okay now? Like, are you?
Yeah, I'm a lot better now. A lot better now, thanks. But thanks for your concerned calls and looking out for me. I appreciate that.
I've got to be fair. I don't know if I'm speaking on behalf of Des, but I actually enjoyed the serenity, mate. Not having the phone call. Wow, I'm off to a flying start. Sorry, boys. I've come in super hot. Today. I'm off the loop. No, fantastic, mate. And so, like Andy, in all seriousness, mate, how are you feeling at the moment?
I'm a lot better. I'm recovered. Feeling heaps better today. Getting back into some work. Some interesting stuff happening. I too, like Des, have been delving into the murky world of governance documents, and it's an interesting place.
Wow. Well, I've been actually doing the mahi, boys. I've been hanging out with the peoples. I've been getting my boots dirty, as they say. And although I've got to be honest, I have got re-inspired and got getting back on my my NZISM certification for certified professional accreditation. Now that I'm a HAZANS registered member, I figured I should continue that CPD and continue to strive to be better, right? Continually strive to be better. Boots on the ground only get you so far these days, and good looks. But I've run out of both of those, so onwards and upwards. But now, Des, you ready for? Oh, firstly, actually, sorry, I get distracted. How's young Oliver, Andy? How's our young apprentice? What is he learning these days?
He's been watching the Olympics. Been doing a bit of watching of the Olympics, and he's been asking some quite interesting questions about safety.
And the River Sains, by any chance, or what?
Well, no. One of the things that he was interested in was watching the skateboarding, which was pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
None of them were wearing helmets. And he was asking the question, why? And I said, well, why do you think? And he said, well, clearly, Daddy, somebody's done a thorough risk assessment and has deemed that it's not necessary.
That's our apprentice. And I think that aligns beautifully with the topic we've got on the spinning wheel of death, right? Is self-preservation a risk control? I mean, they've got a choice, right? They could wear a helmet if they, I don't know if there's a ban on helmets in the Olympics. I would go so I wouldn't go that far and say there was a ban, right? So they could choose to wear them if they wanted to, right?
I'm guessing so, but yeah, but none of them did. But then again, in other sports, they all do, which is I found interesting.
Like the BMX racing sport, mate, that's going to be coming up Friday morning, tomorrow morning, and Saturday morning. It's going to be some super exciting stuff.
The freestyle has been sublime.
Were they wearing helmets?
Yes, they all were wearing helmets. Some of them wearing full face helmets, though, and some of them weren't, which was interesting.
Wow, fascinating. No, excellent, good to know. Now, before we get into this, gentlemen, Des, do you have our disclaimer ready?
Well, I'm pleased to say that we're continuing with our theme of having a guest disclaimer each show. And we've reached new heights, gentlemen. We've actually got someone from the legal profession contributing to our disclaimers.
A real lawyer.
An actual real life lawyer.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. Do we know this person?
We do. And we were lucky enough to get a recording in a pub of them giving us a disclaimer. And Brent, if the audio gods are with us, can you hit go on that recording, please?
Okay. Well, first, I don't know who this is, so let's see if we can work it out, and then let's have a discussion about you being at a pub without me, and we'll get onto that in a minute too. So I think this is the recording, if we got it right.
So the information you're about to hear in this podcast is not legal advice. If you have any concerns about your legal position, you should seek your own independent advice.
Wow, I'm hoping that came through loud and clear, boys.
Absolutely. And it sounded like a real lawyer.
And it sounded like a real pub as well, to be fair. What pub was it, more interestingly, Des? What pub was that?
It was Dr. Rudy's rooftop bar in Auckland Viaduct.
Nice. Now, that wouldn't have been like, that seems really close to where we were for that NZISM roadshow with Greg Smith. Now, was that like, I mean, I was with you at lunchtime, so clearly that wasn't a lunchtime thing.
You're quite the investigative sleuth, aren't you?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how there was a pub involved and I didn't get there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So is that none other than the real lawyer, Greg Smith?
It is indeed, and a big shout out to Greg. Thank you very much for the disclaimer, and thanks very much for your contribution to the show.
Fantastic. Well, with that in mind, we're all lawyered up. Hey, would he represent us in the event of a defamatory? Is that what they call them? A case against us?
Ooh, I reckon it'd be a gun.
Would we have to? Did we have to pay him? Did we have to pay him for that disclaimer? I probably should have asked this before we did it.
Well, maybe because we provide such a good public service, there might be a good pro bono argument for representing us.
Nice, like where you're going with this. But hey, we're talking about going some places. Should we bring up the spinning wheel, boys? Are we ready for this?
Let's do it.
Bring it up.
Okay, there we go. I tell you what, there are some exciting topics on the wheel today. Still haven't managed to get through enough of them to get some more on, but we'll look to that shortly. But here we go. The spinning wheel of deaths now go. Woo-wee! Rewarding people for being safe. Oh, I gotta be fair. I think this was one of mine, and I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait to pull this to pieces. This is going to be awesome. I'm looking at your faces though, and you don't seem that excited, Andy. So, one thing, take it away, mate. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Speechless.
We've had this conversation. I can't be the only one speaking through this video cast. You have to actually contribute by saying more than one or two words. I'll come back to you, Andy. Des, rewarding people for being safe. I mean, what are your thoughts, mate?
Honestly, my first thought was, shit.
I'm going to have to hit that explicit language thing again on the Spotify podcast update.
The fewer people that listen to this episode, the better.
Well, there won't be kids. Now, young Oliver, our apprentice, can't even listen to this show. I mean, why? Why, Des? What are you worried about?
Are we talking carrots and sticks here when it comes to health and safety? Is that what this is about?
Well, maybe I'll give a bit of context, right, around what sort of got me going. So there's often, like, I don't know, there's some programs out there, for example, that give people, and when I say a program, like I get if somebody does something really innovative, right? But there's people put in place programs like the weekly health and safety award, or get go in the draw to win $50, a $50 Prezi card for a safety initiative, or if you report. So it's a little bit, I guess you could also go down the road of it's getting to like sort of KPIs a little bit, right? But if you achieve your safety KPIs, you get a bonus, right? So it's rewarding people in that manner for being safe. Andy, have you got any words yet, mate? Any words?
Yeah, I think it's actually quite complicated. This
how can
I'm just trying to unpick it in my mind. So the context you've given.
I've defined it for you. Well, not defined it, but
well, you haven't. You haven't. This is the whole point. You've just actually asked more questions. So, are we talking about an organisation rewarding workers for being safe?
Yes.
And rewarding them beyond their normal remuneration?
Well, I don't know about you, but I don't get $50 Prezi cards every week for putting in a safety initiative.
I think there's a place for such things.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, I genuinely do.
Okay, why? Walk me through this, and I'm gonna be upfront now, mate. You and I are not going to see eye to eye on this. I don't think there's any place.
I suspect the usual pattern will follow is that you resist my intuition and my innovative insights.
Are you suggesting that
towards the end of the show, you'll all agree with me?
Not at all. Not on the front.
I think it depends on what the objective and the purpose is.
Oh, here we go.
So if you are trying to raise the profile, build engagement, then I have no problem with rewarding if that is the goal. If it becomes just an arbitrary response, so you're rewarding what people should just do as part of their job, then that may become problematic. But it's really the management of it, not the act itself, that's the problem. So, if, for example, if you've got your high vis on, imagine that high vis actually saw a work site.
Mate, my high vis is more likely to set a work site than your safety boots are, mate.
And if you
actually own safety boots, I mean, do you get out of the office?
Yeah. And if you came up with a genuinely innovative idea, would it not be worthwhile of me as your boss acknowledging that in some way to say this is great?
Yeah, I guess there's that, but if it's a regular program, week in, week out, go in the draw to win a $50 voucher for a safety initiative, that's a different conversation, right? So then you could go to the safeguard. If you're that innovative, go to safeguard, right? Like, it shouldn't necessarily be something that you're doing week in, week out, right? I mean, there's only so many bloody ideas out there, right? Are we really? Maybe that's.
I mean, you could suggest that if you're expecting to have new innovative safety ideas on a weekly basis, that the organisational safety system's crap.
So therefore, rewarding people for safety is not a good thing, right? So you agree with me? Awesome, Des.
That's not quite what I said.
I mean, do you? I mean, are you on board with this? Are you about rewarding people for being safe?
My thoughts go back to that carrot and stick thing, and there's definitely people better qualified to make this comment than me, but I'm pretty sure the carrot and stick idea of motivating people was current in psychology about 100 years ago and is no longer current. And the human beings are far more complicated than that. and it's just old talk. It's not valid anymore.
I mean, bell bottoms went out a while back, but they seem to be making a return. I mean, maybe this
No,
is
they're not. They're not making a return.
Well, okay. Well, Crocs came in and Crocs went out, but Crocs are back, mate.
Crocs were never in. They keep them coming.
I think we're going to have different arguments on this too. I actually own 2 pairs of them, but so I guess this is the carrot aspect of that carrot and stick approach that we're talking about, right? And so what you're saying is that you agree with me and not Andy that really that went out with the arc, right? It's not a thing. Is that what we're getting from you?
Yeah, and when I have seen it yield any sort of result, it's always been temporary and relatively minor. I haven't seen it being done well within an organization.
Yeah.
There's other aspects of rewards in terms of health and safety, like industry awards, but I think that's a different subject altogether.
And thinking about those industry rewards, I mean, I know the Circus of Safety Symposium is looking to roll out a suite of awards as well at some point in our future. But those industry awards that you speak about, regarding, I guess the main ones in New Zealand are the Safeguard Awards, right? They're not only open and not only available to safety professionals as such, right? There are employees that can be part of that award process. So if you do see something truly innovative and groundbreaking and you want to recognise that there are mechanisms to do that without having to do a $50 Prezi draw every week, right? Andy, any further thoughts, mate? I mean, like you said, so I guess I'm really interested in the go in the draw to win a $50 Prezi voucher for every hazard you identify and that kind of stuff. Do we really need to be doing that, or safety champion of the week, or those kind of things? Are you on board with that? I mean, I still can't work it out whether you are or you aren't. You're flipping and flopping a little bit like
no, I don't think I am. I'm not flipping and flopping. I think there's a place for all of these things. I think all of these things can work within the right context. I think praising good behavior, good performance is fantastic. It works. We know this works. If you praise people and they're doing a good job, they'll continue generally to do a good job. It's when it starts to get a bit messy when it becomes arbitrary and it becomes an expectation. But most large business corporates are run on KPIs. The senior people in the organization get rewarded for meeting their KPIs. And that's just how it is. I mean, we could change that, I guess, but that's just the nature of business in the world. It seems a bit unfair that it's only those people that get rewarded beyond their remuneration when the operational staff don't.
As somebody that's an employee, and Des might concur with me on this. I don't think you'd understand, Andy, but it's KPIs aren't awarded for one aspect of your role. You're not only if you happen to be in a program within your organisation that offers rewards or incentives for achieving KPI. It's not only around safety. There's generally a number of...
absolutely. But it's the principle, right? You've been set a goal. If you meet them, you're rewarded. How is that different to getting a Prezi card?
For identifying a hazard.
Well, if you're being very specific, on the wheel it doesn't say getting a $50 Prezi card for identifying a hazard. That's a different conversation. But it depends how you look at this. If you look at it from a quite holistic point of view, I think rewarding good performance is always beneficial. The context around that might vary and it might become problematic, but broadly speaking, if people are doing well and going above and beyond, then I think there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. Now, what form that acknowledgement comes in is up to the organisation. But broadly speaking, if you reward good performance tends to be maintained or get better.
Des, do you agree or disagree with that concept?
I don't.
He wants to disagree, but he's going to agree.
I don't know. My thoughts are immediately going, so what is the reward for? Is it for an innovation? Is it for good performance? Is it for compliance?
Absolutely.
Because I think that would change my answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Great
I
point.
can't believe
Great point, Des. Great point.
we're only
Thank you.
part
I
way.
agree.
I guess when I wrote this topic down, when I put this topic on the wheel, because you guys stopped contributing to the wheel, and I think you come up with all these innovative ideas. Maybe I could get rewarded with like a mug or something. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe I could get a mug. Do I now deserve a mug for these great topics I'm putting on the wheel?
Well, if it was up
Gave
to me
you a
or
mug at
Des,
the
if it was up to me or Des, yes, but you're basically arguing against yourself getting a mug.
So now I'm not getting a mug because I've argued myself out of a mug. I
Pretty
mean,
much.
this is just getting dumber and dumber. I think we're starting to run out of content. But I guess where I see this coming in is often businesses put programs in where go in the draw to win. And I mean, I know I'm being quite specific, right? And I know the topic wasn't that specific, but this was the motivator behind that topic. And I don't necessarily agree with you, Andy, but I see where you're going with this. So I would suggest that it's those kind of, I guess, meaningless. Not mean. I shouldn't say meaningless, but it's those awards that they're just there for doing your job, right? Like, I mean, if you see a hazard, as an example, if we just keep picking on that example that I'm playing with, and you report it, I mean, that's not even your job. That's your legal obligation, right? I mean, you've got expectations on you to do that. Why should you be rewarded for doing something that you should do anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Is going home to your family, being rewarded for working safely, whoop-de-doo, right? Isn't going home to your family, your friends, and doing the things that you do satisfactory, reward enough for going back? I don't disagree with rewarding people for good performance. I think that's a valid argument. The here we go. Come over here, Ben.
He does, Ben. He loves the stick.
But again, I guess we know where I'm going with this. Like I'm a big fan for trying to incorporate work rather than just safety, right? If you're only rewarding people for safety, there's something wrong with that, right? If you're rewarding them for their performance, and a part of that includes a safety aspect, well, that's a slightly different conversation again, I guess, and that's where you're going. And I guess a comment here from Ben Redwood is do I prefer the stick over the carrot? Well, do I? Don't I? I think they should both be used equally, Ben. If people aren't, and again, let's take safety out of the context. If people aren't performing, then I think they need to be called out. Now, whether that's using a stick, whether that's using a performance mechanism of some sort that your HR team comes up with, I don't know. But I think people should be. But I think just being rewarded purely for, I don't know, just doing safety just seems meaningless and arbitrary to some extent. So, I mean, would you feel then that there's any place in Safetyville for rewarding people for being safe?
Probably not, because if we're rewarding people for innovating in that space, then that deserves recognition. But rewarding people for just merely being safe, when someone's not safe, it's not a case of their behavior, like that they haven't necessarily made a decision not to be safe. It's more complicated than that. So,
yep.
I just think it's a very simplistic approach to something that's far more complicated, and it's probably because of that, it's probably not going to represent the outcome that you want or create the outcome that you want.
So, Andy, do you still feel, after the compelling arguments from myself and my esteemed colleague Desai Link, who clearly rubs shoulders with elite lawyers on international trips who sell multiple books, do you still agree that being rewarded for being safe is a good idea?
The question's changed.
No, well, actually, I just checked that, and because I just I knew this was coming, so I just did a little look. That was the spinning wheel of death. Rewarding people for being safe. So the question's not changed.
Well, the discussion. Well, we've been talking about the wrong thing then. Rewarding people for being safe. It's quite a deep question. It's quite a deep question, this.
Well done, Andy. You used a vacuum instead of a broom this week. You get a Prezi card. I mean, really? Oh, I mean, come on. Right.
I don't know.
Here we go. Hey, good job, Andy. You wore your high vis, mate.
Potentially. No, I tell you what, I am not willing
Oh, here we go.
to dispose of that from my safety engagement toolkit.
But I'm going to argue that if that's what you, if you're getting
No, that's not all I've got in my toolkit.
I'm backing up from what I said. But if I just want to say, I just want to let you know that I think if you're getting to that level within your toolkit, I appreciate your toolkit, my man, is incredibly extensive. I would suggest just scrape the bottom of the barrel. I would suggest you, and if you're that low, nothing's going to work, mate. Nothing. If you're down,
I think if for example there was an incident or an accident, and the organisation, for example, hadn't developed a suitable emergency response for that incident, and a number of people in the organisation absolutely rose to the occasion, then I don't think there is anything wrong with acknowledging and rewarding that. In fact, I would actively encourage that.
I think we're going to start talking about semantics, but I don't think that's rewarding somebody for being safe. I think that's rewarding somebody for going above and beyond in their job. And there's a
but the two things are the two things intrinsically linked. I mean, I didn't pull you up on it before because I thought we were being nice to each other today.
No, that was bad, mate.
Yeah, but you earlier on when you were on your big long ramble.
Well, somebody's got to use some words on this show because
you were isolating stuff. You were saying for just being safe as opposed to working safely. Well, the fundamental question here: does safety actually exist by itself?
Well, I don't know. You're the consultant that sells the snake oil. What does it? I don't know.
No, I don't think it does. I think safety only works in conjunction with something else. You can't be intrinsically safe because you're safe from what? So when you take rewarding people for being safe, you're effectively, in my mind, you're rewarding people for working safely or operating safely or behaving in a safe manner. And I think under some circumstances, that is worthy of reward.
Well, I just want to say, if the safety gig doesn't work out for you, local government or politics could. Just
that's a fate worse than death.
Des, I mean, I'm just going to give you the respect that you deserve. I mean, do you see any pros in rewarding people for being safe?
I have seen this work well kind of on a temporary basis. I alluded to that earlier, that temporarily it can produce some innovation, but I feel like that quickly runs out. And then people forget that the award program exists, so they forget to nominate people, or whatever the setup is. So there might be some, if you're after a temporary gain, I want to increase engagement before the end of August. I want to get some ideas about some innovations that we can do for the next financial year. There might be a good means to motivate that temporarily. Okay,
nice. Well thought out and considered, Des. Thank you. That's what we've come to expect of you, Andy. I guess I have to be fair in love and war, right? Any pros to rewarding people for being safe?
Yeah, it can increase engagement.
We'll leave it at that. I'm not sure if you're going to have any, because you're clearly pro rewarding people for just living. any cons? Do you see any cons? I mean, let's be okay. Do you see any traps with going down this road?
Oh, absolutely. There's thousands of traps. There's thousands, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep it in your armory, right? The classic one is incident reporting. So every time you report an incident this month, your name goes into the drawer, and at the end of the month, we'll pull a name out of the hat, and you get a $50 Prezi card. So that's cool, and the intention's right. But what tends to happen, in my experience, where I've worked for businesses that have done this, is that the reporting goes up, but effectively people are just making stuff up to get the Prezi card. And that's a problem.
Yep.
But if you frame it in a way where that doesn't become the focus of it, then there's no problem with rewarding people, I don't think.
No,
but there's traps. There's traps everywhere.
There sure is.
They need to be considered.
Well, talking about considerations, I think this woman should get an award. Sarah Tizzard, don't reward people for items listed in their job description or what is a minimum requirement of a position. I mean, you're getting rewarded enough, right? You're getting paid to do a job. I say get on and do it, and the reward and going home at the end of the day should be nice. So well done, Sarah. If it was up to me, you'd get a mug, but you might already have one.
She's already got one. She's already got one.
Oh,
that's an interesting point she's made there, actually. And if I may I continue?
Oh, right, here we go.
So the
indication. A lot of time on your hands this week,
well,
right?
No, I have. Yeah, I've sat on the toilet. The implication there is it's okay to reward people that go beyond their job description, but actually that's problematic in itself, because do you want people to go beyond your job description? Or should we all actually work within our job description? Because once you start overreaching your job description, a whole world of pain awaits.
Well, that's kind of where Sarah is going with that. If you're rewarding someone for a consistent show of going above and beyond expected behaviours, that is a different story, but it shouldn't be a weekly system. And I think, if people are, and I guess where Sarah's going with this, and is somebody that oversees nearly 100 employees in some way, shape, or form or the other, there are mechanisms to reward people for overall performance, whether that be annual reviews and the like. But I guess my worry in terms of the traps is the effectiveness, the loss of effectiveness, right, on it, and then it becomes an expectation. So then what effectively are we paying somebody for? To follow instructions, and then we're going to reward them for doing what we're paying them to do already? Just doesn't make sense in my head. But Andy, as we bring this show to an end, mate, I can't believe we've spoken for this long about this nonsense. But any final thoughts as we wrap up the show on the topic of rewarding people for being safe?
I think it's a useful opportunity. It's a useful thing to have, but it's got to be used with caution.
Fair enough. Des, any further thoughts from you, mate?
Yeah, and I actually jotted down some notes because I think it's important to consider the logic that underpins the reward. So am I being safe because I'm going to get a reward for it? Or am I being safe for its own sake and then I'm being recognized for that?
Beautiful.
And that,
beautiful, Des. Beautiful.
Thank you. So maybe the logic that underpins it is more important than the thing itself.
That should go on a T-shirt.
You wrote that down, Des?
I did, yeah, I did.
Yeah, cool.
Do you want to reference who made it up?
So, I don't think he heard you, Andy. So I guess that's the premise for this show, right? If we think back to that logic, I mean, Des, you probably not necessarily in the statements you said, but the lead into your statements around, and that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to get people to challenge things. I mean, just because I don't necessarily believe that we should reward people for just being safe and doing what we've asked them to do to start with, and doing what they should be doing for them, not only for themselves but their family and their friends and the like. I mean, doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done, right? There might be some really great thoughts and logic behind it, and the whole thing that underpins the show is to really think about what you're doing, right? We want people to think, we want people to question We want people to challenge what they're doing, not just do what you're doing because you thought, because you've always done it, right? And I guess that's the premise for it. I mean, the fact that Andy's wrong, we'll just accommodate that because we're an incredibly diverse organisation, and I mean we accept consultants as much as we do hardworking employees like Des and myself on this show. So, but no, I mean while the topic is quite simplistic, there's a lot that goes behind. I guess that's where we're coming from, right? Really put some time, effort, and energy into thinking about what you're doing, not only with rewarding people, but just time, effort, and energy, right? Into thinking about what you're doing before you just rush in and do it. Because, I don't know, maybe you saw it on the top tick or something and you're away, right? So, massive, lots of things to think about. I tell you what, my brain hurts. So much to think about. I mean, great day with Des. I mean, Andy was apparently ill. I'm glad you're okay, Andy. But it was interesting, though, when two members of the Circus of Safety turn up to an NZISM professional development and they go, "Oh, where's the rest of the circus?" And we're like, "Well, we don't know." Mate, for some minutes. You were missed, Andy. You were missed. Just want to put it out there. You were missed. But listen, Andy, what have you got planned for the next couple of weeks, mate?
Bow ties.
Have you not finished that?
Oh, another lot.
Don't you just copy and paste? Like, let's be fair. Let's be honest, mate. Do you just copy and paste?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I build them in conjunction with the clients.
Wow, beautiful. I need to talk to your marketing guy. Des, what do you got planned for the next 2 weeks, mate?
It's all study for me. Study and work. Gripping life I lead, I know.
Mate, you're an inspiration. Absolute inspiration. Well, I got a massive couple of weeks coming up, boys. We're at work is getting hectic. It's fantastic. I live in an environment of chaos, and I love it. We've got a massive project coming to an end, which is fantastic. Thanks to this motley crew of awesome individuals, I get to spend and have a father and son breakfast with my my youngest and only child left at school. So that's quite exciting. Date night with the wife at Costco's on Saturday. I'm pumping. And I'm looking forward to watching some more of the Olympics. I know I'm going to be eyes glued as I watch Rico Bierman and Leela Walker compete for gold in the BMX racing at the Olympics over the weekend. Some live local racing too, actually, at North Harbour BMX. It's going to be exciting. So lots to get done, boys. Lots to get done. And obviously some post-show productions, which is going to be fantastic. But what a show. But hey, listen, again, something that I think I've really enjoyed. It's really cool, this part of the show. I get to kind of dive into LinkedIn, get to ramble around and really try to identify the people that matter, and that's the people that are listening. Because again, we're just overwhelmed with the support that we're receiving, and we continue to see that go up. Now, I just want to have a big shout out. I hope I pronounce this correctly, because this could be our very first follower from Algeria.
Wow!
How cool is that, right? We got a listener, a follower in Algeria. So I hope I pronounce this right. I'm not sure what dialect actually they speak in Algeria. That might be a bit of research between now and the next show. But his name is Youssef, I think is how it's pronounced. He's an environment health and safety manager at DGA Production Al Iluma in Sétif in Algeria. So, mate, great to have you as part of the show. Thank you for joining in, and look forward to your contribution over the coming times. It's going to be fantastic to see you there and get to meet you. And a big thank you to our contributors of the show. Ben, hopefully we don't run into each other in a dark alley. There could be a few bits of stick flying around. Sarah, your insights have been phenomenal. So what a show. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. And look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you both. See you in a fortnight.
See you then. Toodles.
See ya.